Alright guys, tonight's topic is topic 7-5, dividing decimals by 10, 100, or 1000. And I will tell you that this is my third try for this video tonight. My first time, my Mimeo board, the battery died on it. And that is what I use to write on the screen. So you're going to have to bear with me tonight. I wanted us to go ahead and be able to get this lesson so that you'd be ready to work in class, but I'm going to have to use the typing a little bit, and then I'll have to use the pen. And it's a little ugly, but just bear with me tonight, and let's get through this. You're going to find that dividing decimals by 10, 100, or 1000 is very similar to multiplying decimals by 10, 100, or 1000, which is what we did earlier in the week. The big difference is the decimal point and the way you move it. So I need you to really pay close attention to this today. So the rules for dividing by 10, 100, and 1000 are basically the same as multiplication, except you're going the other way. We all know that anything that you divide by 1 is going to be itself. But let's look at 10. 10 has 1 0. And so what we're going to do to be able to divide by 10 is move that decimal point to the left one place. Remember, with multiplication, we move to the right, because when you multiply, you're making numbers larger. When you divide, you're dividing them out into smaller parts, so you're obviously going to have a smaller number when you divide. If you're dividing a decimal by 100, because there are 2 zeros, you're going to go back 2 places from the original decimal point position. And likewise, by 1000, there are 3 zeros, so you're going to go move your decimal point 3 places to the right. Okay? So let's take a look at this that I just got straight from our book. Dividing decimals by 10, 100, or 1000. How can you divide decimals by 10, 100, and 1000? Chandra wants to cut a cloth into 10 strips. All the strips should be exactly the same size. How wide will each strip be? Divide to find equal parts of a whole. If you notice right here, it tells us, so we want to first think about the information we know. What do we know? It tells us that the strip itself is 89 and 5/10 centimeters long. We also know that we are to divide, and I'm going to use this for my division sign. We're going to divide that into 10 parts, okay? So here's where the easy part comes in. Because we're dividing by 10, and there's 1 0 in 10, that tells me I'm going to move my decimal point 1 place back to the left, though, okay? So that's going to make my answer 8 and 95/100ths. Now let's stop and think about that answer. Is that reasonable? When I look at 89.5 and I think about rounding, that's about 90. So my estimating rounding, you're looking at about 90. If I divide 90 into 10 parts, it's about 9 for each part. Look at my answer. 8 and 95/100ths would round to 9. So that's a very reasonable answer. I put a couple things here at the bottom I want us to try to get in our heads, just to remember, just to help us as we go through the year this year. When you move the decimal point to the left in any number, you are always decreasing its value. To the left decreases, to the right increases. And then for some of you who are having maybe a hard time understanding how we can just have these rules, counting zeros, let's think about the place value system. When you look at a place value chart, each part of a place value chart goes up 10 times if you're dealing with whole numbers, and it goes down or decreases 10 times each place you go over on the decimal side. So since place value is based on that 10 system, when you divide by 10, 100, or 1000, it's the same thing as moving the decimal point to the left. 1 place, 2 places, or 3 places. So I just wanted to clarify kind of why we're able to do that and look at the zeros to help us work. All right, let's try a few. Let's look at this first one. 370 and 2/10 divided by 10. Remember, the first thing you do is look and see how many zeros are in your power of 10 that you're dividing by. There's 1, which means this is going to go back 1, which makes my answer of 370 and 2/10 divided by 10, 37 and 200ths. Okay? Very simple, just moving your decimal. Let's look at this one. There are 3 zeros in 1,000, which means this number is going to go back one, whoops, and this is what my pen likes to do. It's going to go back 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So basically takes us to the beginning of the number. So we know our answer is 0.6845, which is 6,845 tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000. So that's 6,845 10,000ths. Let's look down here at this problem. There are 2 zeros in 100, so that means this decimal point's going back 2 spaces, 1, 2. My answer to this problem is 1 and 264 thousandths. Excuse me. And the last problem on the page, divided by 10 means 1 0, which means you go back 1 place. And my answer is 7 and 25 hundredths. Okay, so very simple, just like multiplication, but going in a different direction. So you've got to remember which way you're going, because on a test, you can have a division and then a multiplication, and maybe a multiplication and a division. So I need to make sure you remember which goes which way. All right, very quickly, excuse me, on part 1 of your notes, please write out for me, how do you divide decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000? Just explain to me how you do that. Part 2, if you'll do the same thing, but this time with multiplication. How do you multiply decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000? And then part 3, I'd like you to work these 2 problems. Notice one is multiplication, one is division. I want to make sure we kind of get used to working them in random order so that we can really think and apply and use what we know to find the answers. I will see you tomorrow in class. Have a great rest of the evening.